not showing. There it is. There we go. What is up, guys? Bear with me here. I'm trying to get some stuff rolling here, make sure everything is good. Hopefully it looks good. Everything's good speed-wise. This is kind of a new setup for me, using a new system. So I'm using my MacBook here, and so we have kind of a little bit of a different setup here. But hopefully this angle works. If not, I will see about a different camera. But I figured I'd give this Logitech camera I had sitting around a shot and see if it can actually handle this angle here. But welcome in, everybody. This is first of hopefully maybe many. We'll see. But as you guys can see right now, I have a Super NES Junior. You can see the back plates hanging off. Yeah, we're going to be installing this little mod here. It's kind of hard to see. And I'll do my best to try to make it so you guys can see it. I don't have like an exceptional camera that can actually zoom in and stuff like that yet. But if this turns into something worthwhile, then I will look into getting a better camera. But until then, this is what we have, and I'll try to make sure I bring everything closer to show you guys. But let me know how the audio sounds for my voice, stuff like that. If we need to adjust anything, let me know. But let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to talk about the Super Nintendo Junior. As you can see, it's a smaller version than a regular Super Nintendo. So here's your regular Super Nintendo side by side. This is a 2-chip, so it's not an easily modded one. But you can clearly see the size difference. The buttons are different. It does have the dual controls up front. But a lot of these juniors got tossed. And they got tossed for one particular reason. When they made these back plates, they messed them up pretty well. So as you can see, this one right here was damaged. This is actually how I got it. So the whole power connector was all built into it. It was all plastic built into this whole little piece right here. And if you jammed the power plug in too hard, hit it, bumped it, it just smashed the back end. And a lot of people just kept jamming it in, breaking it in, trying to get it to plug in. And then what ends up happening is you end up shorting it. So let's go ahead and open this guy up here. And I'll show you the inside. I've already kind of pulled the pieces off, but that's the heatsink for your regulator. Let's go ahead and pull this, separate this guy here, and we'll talk about this here. So with this guy, with the shield out, you can clearly see where that plastic connector attached. This guy would sit right here, and you can clearly see like the piece at the bottom sits right there, and it's soldered into those two ports right there. Well, the problem is when you jam it and the pin breaks free, it would actually short the power to the ground and actually blow this fuse back here. So I didn't want to be modding a board that I didn't know worked, so I've already gone and soldered in my new power connection. I've soldered in a new fuse, tested it. This guy does work. So we don't have a question of whether it's going to come up or not. Unless, of course, I mess up the mod. So, go ahead and remove this last shielding here. And you can see why they call this a one chip. So on this system, it uses one chip to process the graphics and to process the CPU all in one chip, where some of the other Super Nintendos, the more popular ones everyone had two chips to separate the to separate the graphics and the CPU processing, and they would meld it back together. The one thing nice about these one chips is the image was sharper. So it had a really nice, sharper image to it versus the two chip setup, because it didn't have to process it back together and try to rebuild the image. But the problem with the Juniors is the Juniors did not natively have RGB. So therefore, that's where this little guy comes in handy. So I'll bring this up, see if it focuses here. Come on, camera. There it goes. So this guy right here is an RGB amp. And it's a simple little mod. It goes on the back here. Come on, camera. What are we doing here? Come on. There it goes. So on the back here is the typical Nintendo, start with the Super Nintendo, multi-out thing right here. And as you can see, those pins stick out pretty far. If we can get it to focus back in here. Yeah, I'm already saying I'm going to have to get a better camera for this if we're going to continue this. But these pins stick out pretty far. We just got to do a cleanup. There's these 4 cap pins sticking out here. So the first thing we're going to do to clean this guy up is we're going to go ahead and clip those guys off. So I'm going to grab my trusty little close nips here. And we're going to clean this guy up. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses. I don't think you want to get one of these little pieces in your eye. It would suck. So with those out of the way, now we should be able to take this mod board and set it right on top, like so. And then all we'll have to do is solder those pins together, and that board's mounted. We run wires, and we have a modded Super Nintendo Junior. Well, before we do that though, what we want to do is we want to isolate the back. We want to make sure that none of these parts can accidentally short out. Not that there's anything on the back here to short out, but just in case. So, one of the things that kind of helped me back on this mod was having thermal tape. Really good for blocking heat and isolating components. And I need one roll, not both. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put a little tape on the back of this board. What side is your upside? Come on. Really? Okay. Where do we start? There we go, right there. Okay. Alright. So, we're going to go ahead. Excess piece over here. Okay. Then I'm going to add another layer because I don't want to chance it. Post window just a hair higher. Okay. That should be good. And you see this stuff does not want to come off. Trim off the edge as we don't need all the excess here. Okay. Alright, Alright, so now with that isolated to not touch these parts right here, we can put this guy back on. Okay. Okay. Alright, so now with that guy on, and it has an isolation barrier to keep it from shorting out potentially on the other parts. As you can see, this guy has a little corner notch here. Let's see. Has a little corner notch so you can actually miss those parts, but it's just good to take it off regardless because they're excess, they're in the way. So, with that done, we don't need the tape. Now we need our trusty soldering iron and some solder. So, make sure you clean your tin. Make sure your tip's well taken care of. If it's not, look up some videos. Soldering is definitely something that's easy to learn, but it's also very easy to mess up. So make sure you're taking care of that. You don't want to mess anything up. And because I'm old and blind, I'm going to grab my trusty little magnifying glass here. You know what? We could probably bring the camera down a little bit. Let's see if I can bring you guys down, bring you in a little bit more. Oh, maybe get you guys a better angle here. Get it all nice and tight again. There we go. So it's kind of like that. Without kind of having a zoom, it's hard to really get in and see those pins. So like I said, if this turns into something more, I'll get a better camera that can actually do more of this. But you're done, always make sure you grab yourself a little toothbrush. I like to use just regular toothbrushes and a little bit of alcohol. Clean up your mess. Then I'm going to grab my bigger magnifying glass here. I'm just going to make sure, verify that nothing's shorted. Okay. Nothing's shorted. That looks shorted, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my meter just in case, just because I don't want to cause an issue and have this be shorted. So we're just going to do a basic continuity test. And just make sure none of these pins are short to each other, because when you're flowing solder, there is a slight chance that you can flow too much into the system, or not the system, but into the pins, and they'll bridge underneath. So everything looks good there. So I'd say that top portion was a success. So I'll give you a little better look here. So now our mod board is attached. My camera is not cooperating with me, but it is soldered in. And so we will move on to the next part, which is the more complicated of this piece of the mod. So what we have to do is you have to find the correct pins. And thankfully, the makers of most of these boards do have their pinout. So as you can see right here, there is the pins that we need to find. So with that picture up, wish I had like a small little pointer here. I don't. But right here next to capacitor 1, resistor 1, there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 vias. We need to attach to all 4 of those. This is going to be the hard part where you do have to be a little careful. And where'd my flux go? Okay, a little flux pan. Alright. So, our top wire is going to be blue, so we'll grab our blue wire. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. So now, like I said, this is the harder part because you have to be really careful. You want to make sure that you're getting the pins nicely, you know, attached, but you also don't want to go too far. All right. Give it a nice little tight spin. Although I think this wire is a little big, so therefore it's not going to go right in the via, and I'm probably going to have to take a couple strands off. Just a hair tight. Okay, so we're going to have to take a couple strands off, so probably shouldn't have braided it yet. Now we'll take our excess off, and hopefully that's enough to allow us to get through the via. Next time I'll have to order some slightly smaller cable. Okay. Apparently I needed one more. Come on, I'm tired. There we go. And if you're doing this, make sure you do get them nice and tight. You don't want them sticking out, especially with the vias so close together. We don't want to create a potential short. So, come on. Sometimes it's easier just to spin it. And then if you have a nice sharp pair of cutters, nippers, you can just take the tip off and it helps. But there we go. Okay. Alright, so then we want to actually probably should have put a little flux on here beforehand. This just helps put the heat where you want it. Helps it flow a little better. Put a little solder. And it don't take a whole lot. So, then we want to go to the other side. Make sure we take our excess off so we don't have You can, if you want, shorten it before you solder it in. It's up to you how you want to do it, but sometimes it's just easier to push it through, solder it, and then nip it later. So we'll nip a little extra just in case. Alright, there's a blue. Next in line on this mod is green, so let's grab our green wire. So I'm just going in the order of the picture, honestly. Okay. 3, 4, 5. Come on. Okay. Cut our extras off. Let's take just the tip off. There we go. Okay. So green is the second hold down. You want to make sure your tip's clean also. Come on. Here we go. Now that guy's attached. We'll do the same thing. We'll kind of run it up. Cut it about the same length as the blue. Okay. Now next we're going to go red. Make sure. Make sure I didn't short the vias there. guess I'm too close now for you guys. Pick it up a little bit. You can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. All right. It's 4 more. Give it a nice little tight spin, make it easier to get in there. Now normally you would tin the wires, but because the wires are pushing the size of the hole, it's really not that big, that hard. It's not necessarily necessary. Okay. Take the tip off. There we go. All right. Okay. Take a little bit more off. Pull that guy up out of the way a little bit. All right. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit easier. Slightly smaller wire. But it's what I have. And I didn't feel like waiting another week to get it in. So, no big deal. Just a little bit tougher. Come on, water. Here we go. Ah, there. Looks like I got enough on there, but apparently I got another via filled, but that's fine. Full vias just make it hard to put a wire in. You just gotta clear it out, so it ain't gonna hurt this because thankfully I don't need that via for this particular mod. So let's cut our red wire. Get this guy up out of the way. We'll flip this guy back over. And we're going to clean up this side again. Get rid of our overhang wire. Okay. So. Cool thing is, it's actually pretty exposed up here. Gonna have to find my smaller nippers. These guys are too big for this. I think I have them inside with my 3D printer. But what I can do from the top here to make sure that we have a good, nice, solid connection is give it a little extra solder just from the top. Just to make sure Not a bad joint. Make sure it's nice and clean, solid. In the way, in my own way. And I did it. I created a short. That's not what I wanted to do. It was in my own way. Couldn't see. And I put a little too much solder in there. So use a little drag technique. Try to get a little solder out of there. There we go. That short's gone. Let's double check with the bigger. Ta-da, done. There we go. Short's gone. It's easier to fix. Don't trip. You can't, like, don't stress on it. A lot of people get all, like, worried that they're gonna cause more of an issue. It's not a big deal. Just you know, make sure you're checking for the shorts. You don't want to leave a short there. So now we're gonna use a yellow wire for our channel select. So, and now this one, according to the picture, is going to be down caddy corner, like right out here. Yeah, so it's in between these, like this little L right here. It's right in the middle. So this one's a little further away, so it's a little bit nicer, a little bit easier to deal with. So let's get this last wire in, and then we can get them soldered over to the main board. Three, 4, 5. Take one more just in case. Okay. Yeah, I could have pre-recorded this, by the way. Put it out, made it shorter. But, like, one thing I hate about pre-recorded mods is a lot of people, they take out the hard part, right? So when they're doing this pre-recorded, they'll cut out pieces, so it, like, makes it look easier than it is. I kind of just wanted to show you guys the modding process fully through. I didn't want to, like, cut it out or have to make you watch, like, you know, pre-edited video, but getting to see it live, so you get to see what it actually, what it entails, what it takes, stuff like that. So that way, if you decide this is a mod you want to do, or if you want to do a mod, you can kind of see what all goes into it. You know, or maybe I chase you away from it. Maybe you decide not this too much work, and then you decide against it and decide to just pay someone else to do it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. Like, if you just decide, like, it's not worth your time, not worth your effort, sometimes it is just easier to pay for someone's mod service instead of risking it yourself, or not wanting to buy the tools, put in the time, stuff like that. Right now, I'm just double checking to make sure that there's no, like, rogue wires causing an issue here, causing it to have a problem before I solder this last wire in, and then get more in my own way. we'll trim this guy. And there we go. We have all of our wires attached. Okay, let's flip this guy back over. Do our little cleanup snip. Now, yes, if you wanted to, you could bring this to this other side here. As you can see right in the middle. You could just come in and attach straight to the pins of the processor. But, I mean, if you have a VIA available, use that VIA, man. It's just going to make life easier. Okay, we'll put a little extra solder on the top here just to make sure we have a nice solid connection, no issues. Thankfully, this guy's a little further away. There we go. Nice solid connection. Looks clean. Now that we're done soldering here, now let's go ahead again. We're gonna do a little cleanup. We're gonna take our toothbrush and a little bit of alcohol and just kind of clean it up. Get rid of the residue. Do a last double check on it before we flip it over and call it good. And we look at solid. All right. So let's flip this guy back over. Okay, so now what we want to remember here is we want to remember our colors, right? So we're using yellow for our channel select. We're using blue, red, blue, green, red, respectively. So now on the front of this chip right here, there's 4 pins. So what we're going to do is we're going to tin them a little bit. So let's take a little bit of our solder paste pin. Be careful, you don't want to push too hard because you are relying on that being soldered to your pins. You don't want to push on that board because it'll tweak those pins a little bit, because it is kind of, this side's a little, does float a little bit as the design of the board, so that way it sits over the top of those capacitors that are right there. So all we're gonna do is there we go. Okay, there we go. So I've just pre-tinned the pads, so that way we have solder on each pad, making it easier to get the wires onto the board. Alright, so let's turn this board a little bit here. Now we're going to kind of get them in place. And our channel select is going to be this first one. So we need to cut back just a little bit. Give it, strip it. This is where it tends to become a little bit more difficult, because now you have to try to hold these tiny wires into place while soldering them in. This is where the slightly bent tip comes in. It helps with being able to keep the kind of iron out of your own way while you try to hold it in place. want to remember, your wire's going to hold some heat. What a lot of new soldering people want to do is they'll put the wire on, and then they'll take the soldering iron away and try to take their tweezers away or whatever they're using to hold the wire in place, and they'll pull away too soon while the wire is still hot, and the wire will actually keep the solder liquefied for a few seconds. So you want to make sure that when you take the iron away, you keep your pliers in place and hold your wire on the pad. Allow that heat. You can blow on it a little bit if you want. It's kind of up to you, but there we go. Our first pin's on. So next one is going to be blue. Get this red and green out of the way. Okay. It's going to be red, green, blue, so take a little bit off the blue, but not a whole lot. You don't want to stretch the wire super bad, but you also don't want to you don't want a bunch of loose wires. Loose wires make for a messy mod. They can snag, they get caught on things, cause issues when you're putting the board back together in the shell. So just make sure you're just careful, and like I said, don't go excess, but don't feel like you have to make it like super tight. So and if you're looking for your first mod to do, this probably is one of the easier mods, other than doing like the Nintendo mod. That one I think is actually really easy, considering how much more work you have to put into it. This guy kind of formed where I want it. When you're done, give it a little shake test. Make sure it stayed attached. Make sure we're not shorting to the other pin. All right. Now next is going to be green. So we get the red kind of a little bit more out of the way. Come on, red. Listen to me over here. Alright, we're going to leave the green the distance it is, the length it is. Probably could have made it a little bit longer, but oh well. You can tin the tips if you want, that's fine too, it helps. Just remember, when you're tinning the tips, be very careful. Too much solder on the tinning job, and you can create make the wire too big, make it kind of excessive to get kind of where you need it to go. So take that as you will. Looking good. Wonder if I could actually use the magnifying glass to kind of show you. There we go. Maybe not. It doesn't like it. Too much glare. Alright, I was trying to see if I could make it zoom in there a little bit for you. What's up, Brandon's Clips? How you doing, man? Welcome in. We are just about finished with this mod. We're about to put the red wire on, and then we can give this this mod a test, make sure it works, and then button up the Super Nintendo Junior. But how are you doing today, man? Hopefully well. Next time I'll definitely make these wires just a hair longer. I want a little too tight. And this guy's gonna be a little bit. This guy's gonna be a little bit tight in there. Alright, put a little weight behind this guy who wants to slide while I'm pushing it. Alright, so see if we can't get this last wire. See if that guy held in there. All right. So there we have it, guys. That's simply pretty much the basic mod. This is just an RGB bypass. It doesn't have the S video. If you want to use the other mods that have the S video, there'd be a couple extra wires you'd have to solder in here. So doing right, just found your stream. Nice. Well, I appreciate you hanging out, man. Hopefully, I'm kind of new to the modding scene. I do have an electronics. I do have an associate's in computer electronics, and so this is just kind of something fun I decided to pick up to do as a hobby, honestly. More for myself, because I am a retro collector and repair guy. I have a bunch of consoles behind me, and this guy was a complete rebuild. I picked this guy up. I have another one. That I picked up. Both of them had the same problem where the power pin was smashed out and all the fuses were shorted. So I just figured one of them I'd mod and just kind of see if I liked it, see if I enjoyed it. But here's the clip I was showing at the beginning of the stream. It was just typical with these juniors because it was all made of plastic, all the pins and stuff. And so people would, kick them, move them, bump them, break the plastic out. And it doesn't have, you can't find these guys online. So I found someone online who was had a blueprint printout, so I 3D printed my own. I 3D printed a new back. I changed the plug to a more solid. I don't have another one out here, do I? I don't. So I changed to more of a different power plug. I changed the setup on it so it's more sturdy. It won't happen again unless you really try. Like, you'd really have to want to knock this guy off in order to see if it will break again. But before we go too far, let's do another test. Make sure we did in fact get all our pins corrected. So we're just going to do a basic continuity test between the pins. Make sure none are directly shorted. And then we can test back to the via to make sure we're getting solid contact. There we go. So no shorts, everything should be good. like I said, super clean, super easy little mod. And then we will yeah, see how this guy goes. So do a little cleanup here. Brandon, I don't know, like no one's been in here yet to like really talk to me, so let me know how the audio quality is, because I'm using a wave mic up here, kind of up out of the camera here. It's kind of hard to see. So this is kind of a new setup for me. Normally I just do it with my GoPro and I just do voice afterwards. So let me know if the audio quality is good, if the mic's too low, too high, or whatever, and I'll adjust it. So let's grab the bottom shell, because you never want to test on the mat you're soldering on, just in case you have other issues. Give me 1 sec, grab some parts here. Alright. Where did my plug go? The other thing with this mod that I'm doing is I'm changing the plug. So I'm just using a basic generic plug off Amazon that matches, and I change the pin out. So. Alright. So. The one thing that sucked about this guy is it wouldn't actually use the Hyperkin adapter, because the Hyperkin adapter uses RGB. So before the mod, this guy would not actually accept this adapter. It would only run off the standard composite setup. And that is the wrong one. Where did my Super Nintendo one go? Ah. That was my Genesis one for my last mod. Where did my Super Nintendo cable go? Oh, there's the standard. Oh, there it is. Ah. Threw it in a bin. I hid it from myself. Okay, that is the correct one. Let's get the HDMI plugged up here. I probably should have plugged this guy in before I started. Oh, come on. There it is. Okay. Get some power. And once I get this guy all ready, I'll pull the system back, or the camera back, and I'll show you what I'm working with here. Okay. All right, no signal. That's good. Pop in my trusty Super Mario World. Next, what I'll have to do is look into the LED mod. So, set my heatsink to kind of help. Alright, wish me luck. Alright. Maybe it still doesn't like this cable. Alright, apparently it doesn't either. It doesn't like this cable or there's something missing. So let's go back to regular and see what happens here. Alright, where's my box? Oh, there it is. Alright, we'll go here. Alright, now we gotta swap the power cable I'm using. And then of course I gotta plug my regular HDMI back in. Okay, so the red, white, yellow still works. I'm sure you can hear the audio. So at least I didn't ruin it. That is good to know. So I guess I'll show you guys what I'm working with here. Let's turn this back on here. Kind of give you guys an idea. And then I'll have to grab my other stuff. Grab this cable. So this is my setup, guys. Whoops. This camera. What are you doing, camera? Sorry for the dizziness. There we go. So this is my setup. I have a little screen up here. So just a simple, nothing special. But this camera is kind of weird on how it works. There we go. Alright. So let me grab, I guess let's grab, up here I do have, let's see, we do have a bin up here. Why is the focus all off now for some reason? Okay, there it is, Super Nintendo RGB. We have that guy. For some reason my focus is off. What the hell? Come on, camera. Come on. Weird. Alright, so the actual point of this mod is actually to use this box to actually use this guy to line scale. Hey, there it goes. Now it focused again. Okay, so we're not going to use this guy. Don't need this guy. So, it'll actually be my first time testing this cable. All right. Oh, well, let me put the HDMI in. All right. Alright, so if you guys don't know what this is a, let's go out a little bit here, go up a little bit more. So this right here is an OSSC, open source, I forget what OSSC is, but anyways, it's a line scaler. I'm brain farting what it is, what the actual name is, but it's a line scaler. It allows you to take different inputs in and put them on to different setups, and what do you know? It's working through the SCART, guys. Hold on, let's do this real quick. I gotta show this off, and then we're gonna move the camera again, I know. Okay, this time I kinda know which direction. But there you have it, guys. That is sitting on my 1080 screen. We are running it through a SCART cable into the OSSC. And let's see what we're setting right now. Let's see what settings we have. Let's see. So our output, we're at a ×5 right now. I think, yeah. So yeah, so there we go. Now we'll go to ×4. There we have it. So this guy is set up for more of the retro games, but there you guys have it. We have the Super Nintendo Junior running RGB. It's pushing a 262. Oh, that's light's too much. Damn it. I was going to try to show you what that was pushing out, but it's pushing a 15.74 kilohertz, 60 hertz refresh rate. But we are sitting, show you more of the menu here. So, like I said, we're sitting on line 4. I can show you pass through here. So, okay. So there's our direct pass through. Oh, that's not focusing on the screen. There we go. So that is, yeah, like I said, that's just direct pass through right there. And now we can go. So we have a ×2, so it's doubling the lines. Nice, solid, and sharp. We'll get rid of the screen here. So, looking really good there. Let's see, then we go up to ×3. This will kind of always sets the pixels off a little bit. Then we have ×4 again. I think for the Super Nintendo, I think the ×4 is probably the better looking one, and it actually makes it sit out through the whole full screen. And it doesn't look all wide, it doesn't look all distorted. So, what do you guys think? How solid does that look? Let's see, we go up to ×5. 5 will kind of return it back to not a widescreen, but kind of puts it more back into the regular pixels of the typical 4:3. And now I can do more with this. I can actually set the settings up better to do more filtering and stuff. But this is just running the same filtering I was running for my my Nintendo build. So there you have it, guys. Now let's we'll get this guy put back together. Oops, wrong way. There we go. Actually makes me excited that it worked the first time. When I did the Nintendo build, I had a line issue with it, and it wasn't pushing the sync out. It kept dropping the sync, so the video would actually go in and out, and it would filter on me. So controller still works, so that's good. Probably want to be careful how much I'm drawing this guy around with the power plugged in. That heatsink is not sitting on there screwed in. And my luck, I'll have it shift on me and it will short out the regulator and really screw the system up. Then I got to do some more modding and fixing on it. So let's get this guy out of the way. Make sure we hold that down. All right. So let's start putting this bad boy back together. I'm excited, guys. Like I said, this was kind of something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been wanting to kind of get into modding and do these mods. I have mods for every console that's on my shelf. If you're new to the channel, Brandon, you can check out my Twitter, Retro Spartan 1. It's I have pictures up there, but I own every console from a ColecoVision, Atari 2600, all the way up to the new current gens. Actually, talking about ColecoVision, I have one. This guy right here. I actually have a ColecoVision I need to start. I got to find me a power supply because the original power supply that I had, I got this from somebody who wanted me to fix it, and then when I told him how much it was going to cost, he just gave me it because it was trash. But the -5 volts died, and on these guys, these RAM chips are very, very sensitive. So if the positive or negative volts drop out of here, which unfortunately switches here are garbage, they're very susceptible to just not letting all the voltage come through for some reason. And if one of the 5 volts, the negative or the positive, drops, it actually fries every RAM chip on here. So I have all new RAM to put in here, new sockets, the whole 9 yards. So the plan is to change the power supply out, put in a better board that's more more reliable, I guess is what I would say. So this should be a fun rebuild. But yeah, I will be replacing and putting all clean sockets on that one and putting that guy back together. So that way I can play with the RAM, get more into the modding scene of that guy. Come here, screws. The screws don't want to come out. There we go. Where's the... There we go. So, did the music stop for some reason? Or did we hit the end of the playlist again? I don't know if the actual music's working on your guys' side. You'll have to let me know. It said it was, but then again, it wasn't fully pushing the audio through, so I'm not sure. I'm still learning how to use a MacBook. So that's what I am currently using is a MacBook Pro. And there's so many different settings compared to a PC when it comes to getting external sources through. So it wants me to do a special setup, and I couldn't get it to go through, but it showed it was, so yeah, I don't know. I'm still working on it. Whoop. So, another look at that mod for you guys. Nice clean setup, easy setup. So, like I said, if you're trying to get into it, probably one of the easiest mods to get into. Where's my mod? There it is. Okay. Oh, come on. There we go. Make sure it's all nice and clean off the back. Not bad for 3D printing it myself, huh? Alright, where's the rest of my screws? I think that's these guys right here. Okay. So I know these silver ones go on the ports. I've seen guys forget these guys. Don't, please, guys. If you're gonna open these up to clean them, to mod them, to repair them, whatever you do, don't. Be very careful with these silver screws. They are all your support for, you know, putting your port in. If you don't have those guys mounted down, make sure you're grabbing it before you pull your card out. You don't want to rip your system apart trying to pull that guy out. I'm not the right screw for that. Is there a shorter version in here? Well, I guess there was a shorter screw. Fine. And like I said, yeah, I could have pre-recorded this, made it shorter. But I think half the fun is just doing it and showing you guys the wins and the losses, right? We had a short that I had to clear out, show you how quick and easy that was to fix. You know, it's not just all easy like some of the videos will show you. Come on. Alright, fine. Let's do this. Use a soldering iron to clear the hole a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. That's all I was doing there. Sometimes your prints aren't perfect. They don't always come out. Come on, get in there. Do I have something with a pointier tip? Oh, that's a shell. That's the outside. It's being a pain. The screw doesn't want to start, so that's all I'm having issue here. So we're gonna have to kind of open the hole up a little bit. Mod the 3D print. There we go. Imagine that. There we go. But you definitely want to make sure that you're screwing down this port, because this kind of adds a lot of strength to when you're plugging your power in and stuff like that. So some people might just be like, oh, don't worry about it, just, you know, leave those screws out, but you definitely don't want to do that. So I'll have to work on that print. So you can see right here, there's a little bit of a gap. I don't know if I can tighten this guy down more. I'm kind of afraid I don't want to break the shell. Yeah, don't want to break the actual shell. So I'll have to work on that. It looks like it warped a little bit. Probably a little too much heat on the print itself, but the power port's there. There's clearance. It's not touching. I only taped the end off just because I don't want to accidentally short. The wire's a little longer than you need, but I wanted to be able to push everything in and not have to worry about it. But your port is clear. So, yeah, I'll have to work on that. But that's fine. For a first test, it's not bad. Okay, swap the screws. Around the Nintendo. There we go. These guys do have the Nintendo security screws. If you haven't seen those, they're kind of like an odd shaped nut. Almost, it requires a specialty screw to take them apart. The security screw. Oh, come on, get in there. Oh, not that one. Oh, I already put one in there, didn't I? I did. And there we have it, guys. This guy was nasty and dirty. It kind of actually looked very similar to this one, which is the other case. So I'll have to clean this guy up. This guy has more of a fading to it, so I'll have to see if I get some retro bright or something and try to get rid of that brownish tinge. I almost thought about popping the buttons out actually and giving this one a paint job, and actually because it's got the raised logos, except for that one's kind of indented, but like this one has a raised logo, so actually we probably wouldn't be that hard to paint it. I was thinking about maybe giving it a cool little, you know, paint job, but we'll see how it goes. But there you have it, guys. Super Nintendo Junior rebuilt, new power port, RGB mod. This guy's ready to go. So, by the way, for those who didn't see the cable, yeah, there we go. Right, SCART. This is a European type plug, RGB. It's not true composite or component. Sorry, it just uses 3 wires to push RGB, and so yeah. Like I said, I do have mods for a bunch of different consoles, guys. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what console you guys would like to see next. I was looking at possibly doing a stereo mod on a Gen 1 Sega Genesis. I already have a RGB mod for Nintendo 64. I have a Sega Saturn mod to put in. It's for allowing you to play burn games or an optical drive replacement, which allows you to use SD cards. You know, Saturn games are getting harder to get, they're more expensive. and I hate to like ruin the games I've already collected, so I kind of want to replace the optical drive so that I can conserve the original parts, use an SD card to play the games. That way I don't have to worry about chancing ruining any of my really expensive discs I've picked up. But let me know what you guys would like to see next, and hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you liked or did not like about the mod. If you'd like to see more, like I said, if you want to see more, I will definitely upgrade the camera. This is kind of was just a one-off to test and see how it worked. But again, guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here. Show some love. Let me know what you think. Brandon, thanks for hanging, dude. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you again. And like I said, till next, guys, take care of yourself, hydrate, meditate, take care of your mental health. As I always say on my live stream, and if you need to, reach out to me. I'm always here. Love you guys.